What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video and for my next Quentin Tarentino directed film, I'm going to be talking about the film that came after Inglourious Basterds, which I've done a review for, and you can definitely check that out on my channel. So the next film of his came out in 2012, and that movie is Django Unchained. It is definitely, I remember a long time ago, back in 2012, I saw the previews for this movie and all that, and I was excited for it. I was like, I'll definitely go see it in the theaters. I didn't end up going to see it in theaters. It was a while later that I did get to see it for the first time with a buddy of mine, and we both loved it. We both really liked it. Now I rewatched it again for this Quentin Tarantino directed movie marathon, and I mean, my opinion really didn't change at all about the film, for sure. I mean, but I'll talk more about how good it is and all that later. So Django Unchained stars Jamie Foxx as Django himself. Christoph Waltz also makes an appearance in this film. He's a supporting character. Leonardo DiCaprio finds his way in a Tarantino film, his first. Kerry Washington. You may know Kerry Washington to a lot of TV audiences. She's in that show Scandal. And then Samuel L. Jackson finds his way in yet another Tarantino film. So Django Unchained is about a slave called Django, who is bought by this bounty hunter masquerading as a dentist. Christoph Waltz stars as this guy, and Waltz shows him the ropes of bounty hunting and all that sort of thing. He makes a condition. He tutors Django in bounty hunting, and in exchange for that, he gives Django his freedom. Well, then Django has a goal in mind. He wants to save his wife from slavery. And he figures out that his wife is owned by the hands of a plantation owner named Calvin Candy, who's very ruthless, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. By the way, this movie is a Western film, and it's set in the Old West and antebellum South. So this movie is in the early winter of 1858 and the following spring of 1859. It's what the movie, the time periods the movie takes place for. You know, this is a couple years before the Civil War hits. The Civil War, obviously, one of our biggest and most catastrophic wars, North versus South, over mainly slavery and the secession of the Union. But that's another story. But anyway, back to the movie. Anyway, I pretty much just said the plot. Anyway, Django tries to save his wife. The wife is played by Kerry Washington. And along the way, he encounters a house slave named Stephen, played by Samuel L. Jackson. And so that is pretty much the plot of this film. An interesting fact about Django, about Jamie Foxx as Django, he was not the first choice to play Django. Will Smith actually was in talks to play this role. Quentin Tarantino wanted Will Smith, but Will Smith wanted to be the central character in the film. He wanted to make this film a love story, and he wanted to be the central character in the film. He wanted to be the main focus. With this movie anyway, Jamie Foxx is not the main focus. you have main focus on the secondary characters as well. So Will Smith wanted no part of that, and he left the film. He didn't want to play Django. So eventually, Tarantino found Jamie Foxx. So Jamie Foxx comes in, and he does a good job. He really does a nice job as Django. You like the intensity, the intensity of his role. You believe him as he, tries to save his wife, tries to get revenge on the slave owners and on all that type of thing connected to him. You feel it, and Jamie Foxx just does a great job. Christoph Waltz, again, as the other bounty hunter, he does an amazing job. I don't think his performance in Inglourious Basterds is better than Django Unchained, his performance in Django Unchained, but they're not that far off. Christoph Waltz does a great job in this movie as the bounty hunter. Dr. King Schultz is the character's name. But the guy who really... Kerry Washington as Broomhilda, the wife of Django, she does a nice job in the film, definitely. Sam Jackson commits. He has a great performance as Steven. He's one of the standouts for me. Two of the standouts are Sam Jackson and Christoph Waltz. But the biggest standout to me, and probably... I could go back and forth, but one of my favorite characters was Leonardo DiCaprio as Calvin Candy, the cruel plantation owner, the villain of the film. And DiCaprio doesn't play villains that often in his films. This was one of the first films, really, where he did play a villain. And it worked. DiCaprio was captivating. He was captivating. There was this particular scene where he slams his hand down on a dinner table, and his hand is all bloodied and all that, and that's real. His hand is all bloodied. He decided to continue on with the scene instead of receiving medical help for that hand. That shows how committed this guy is. And DiCaprio nailed it. He just nailed it as the villain in this film. So yeah, like I said, Christoph Waltz, DiCaprio, and Sam Jackson are the main players in this film that really do a good job. Nothing against Jamie Foxx or Kerry Washington. They did good jobs themselves. Once again, a Tarantino film has no bad performances. And I'll even say that for Death Proof. There really were not any bad performances in Death Proof. The performances were fine. Just the story and all that sort of thing and other things were wrong with that movie. But with this movie, once again, you get Tarantino's storytelling. You get the dialogue between the characters, which is so interesting. And the violence. This may be... This definitely probably is Tarantino's most violent film. And it's so awesome. It's just so awesome. So, one thing I am going to bring up is Jonah Hill is in this movie. Jonah Hill was going to have a bigger role in the film, but he was actually busy filming another movie of his that came out in 2012 called The Watch. I don't think I've reviewed The Watch. I have watched it. Awesome film. I love that film. Comedy and all that. But Jonah Hill originally was going to have a big role in the film. Obviously, he couldn't because of scheduling problems. So, he ended up taking a cameo in the film. I consider it a cameo anyway. He was only in one scene. And it was a kind of a funny scene too that he was in. It was actually pretty funny. So, a highlight of that film in particular. And there is a scene it's hard to watch because it's like, it really depicts how bad slavery was in the late 1850s, in the 1800s. Just that was a dark time in our history, slavery, and all that sort of thing. To know that we could own people and mistreat them badly in many cases. It was a dark time for sure. And Tarantino really highlights that in this film. And it really grabs your attention at the horrors of slavery and all that sort of thing. But this definitely is first and foremost a revenge film. And it is a bloody good revenge film. It's so good. So I love Django Unchained. Very good film. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Like I mentioned, the performances of Sam Jackson, Christoph Waltz, and Leonardo DiCaprio just stand out for me, for sure. Jamie Foxx and Kerry Washington do a good job in this film as well. Just another typical Tarantino film. Great storytelling, great violence. Totally awesome for me. I really love this film, and I would absolutely recommend it. Absolutely. But don't bring your kids to this film. This film's pretty violent, as well as all the other Tarantino films as well. So, there you go. That is my review on Django Unchained. Stay tuned for my next Tarantino movie, the 8th film in his directorial filmography. So that's it for this video. D-Rock 1992 out.